New episode of the podcast. Happy Friday. Holy smokes, it's the freaking weekend. Let's have some fun. Here's the deal. Today's podcast is a little different. My buddy Michael's coming on today, and I'll let you know today's very specific topic. It's a very specific topic. So if you are not a fan of the hit TV show on MTV, The Challenge, or you don't like it at all, or you don't want to learn about it at all, today's podcast is probably not for you. And if that's the case, hey, see you Monday. New episodes next week. And thank you for tuning in. Go listen to old episodes that you missed. But if you like The Challenge, today's show is for you as we talk about what's happened so far this season, who we like, who we didn't like, what we think is going to happen to finish the season off. That's coming up on today's episode of the podcast. Okay, I did want to mention real quickly, thank you to anyone who's gone to the YouTube page, subscribe to the video portion of this. That's been a weird addition to the podcast. And to the 4, 5, 6 people who watch it daily, thank you. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoy it. So that has meant a lot to me. And, of course, anyone who's gone and hit the review on iTunes, that's been cool, too. All right, let's do it. Without further ado, let's get into today's podcast, all about the TV show The Challenge with my buddy Michael. Thanks for tuning in. I'm very excited about this. Oh, man, I've been waiting for this pod for like weeks now. My buddy Michael on the podcast because he is the reason I am back in on the TV show The Challenge. Thank you for getting me back into it, Michael.
Well, it only took 3 years of every single time you asked me, hey, what are you watching? What's good? I'd say The Challenge.
It's the best show. It's the best show. It's the best reality TV show. You and I are both big Survivor fans. I think The Challenge is better than Survivor.
See, okay. I heard you are the biggest Survivor fan I know.
I'm huge on it.
And when you got back in The Challenge last week or whatever, a couple weeks ago, and I heard you say that on the podcast, I was mad at you. And I completely disagree. I think Survivor's way better. Way better.
Okay, so here's my thought. The thing with Survivor, I feel like we've hit a blueprint of the show that it has gotten kind of the players know how to play it. And so you just kind of methodically get through the season. I still love it and watch every episode and die for it. But because the challenges aren't as intense as the challenges, I feel like it's harder to deviate the course of Survivor like it is with the challenge, where they can kind of take an offshoot and surprise you a little more.
Okay. They do. The challenge, like we'll get into last night's episode. I think they just went in that just off the cuff of their.
They did.
They made that up right at that day.
Yeah.
They wanted something. But this is my problem with the challenge is that it's so edited. Do we even watch the actual challenges that they're doing? Like, I don't even know what they're doing half the time.
Okay, I could see that. For this season.
And they all know each other, right? And so then they have these alliances that they just won't break. Like the Big Brother's not going to vote each other. There's no breaking alliances. And what used to be kind of the best part about the challenge was they would get so shit-faced. Like,
yes, they would.
And make some bad mistakes. But now it kind of feels like they're all just like professional athletes.
Well, it's kind of funny because, and you say that because they do play this game a lot different, Michael, in that they know there's $1 million in the line, and this is now a job for them. And you don't get what Johnny Bananas would bring to the table back in the day, what CT would bring back in the day, where it was like, look, I'm going to punch you in the face and wreck something right now, or I'm going to get so under your skin and just ruin the alliance like that. They are, I think what you said, so in depth with their alliances that they don't get crazy at nighttime to the point where they could potentially ruin those friendships, which used to happen like all the time.
Yeah. And well, they set them up, and I still think they're trying to. They put them, make these little fake nightclubs.
Yeah.
And they put them out there, and they're not drinking because they're too smart. They know not to. But back in the day, they would have back in the day, they were playing for like a big screen TV or something if you won the challenge the next day.
Right. They were on it for TV and potentially for hookups.
Yeah.
That was kind of the challenge.
Now they're professional athletes. I laughed. So what was the biggest takeaway for you from like the difference? What was the biggest difference for you when you came back?
Okay. So one of the things I noticed right off the bat was the professionalism. And because it's been 3 years since I was back, and I was surprised because there was a little less off the cuff And so then the people who were, or I mean, off the rails, the people who were off the rails stood out so much more. So Devin, for instance, who last night finally leaves the show, he was the most annoying person in the world. But I look back like 5 seasons and think, there used to be 4 or 5 Devins in the house every season. And this time there was one. And so he looked like a terrible human because he was the only one stirring the pot like most people used to do.
Right. I think that's kind of unique to this season. They've had in the past few, so like they had this one guy, Bear, that was like the wildest, and I think he just got in some trouble with I think he got canceled, so he couldn't come on. They had a few of these people, and they only brought one on. I think Wes was on too, and he got out early. So he's kind of the same way.
Wes has the biggest, craziest trajectory for me, Michael, in challenge history. When he was first starting coming off of Real World, I didn't like him on Real World. Then I despised him on his first couple seasons of the challenge. And now as I'm an old man, I'm like, let's go Wes, Team Wes. You bring it, buddy. I was cheering for him this season, which I never thought I would do.
You know who my favorite athlete is? Take a guess. I think you can guess.
Your favorite athlete on the challenge?
No, my favorite athlete ever.
LeBron James.
Right. Now guess my second favorite.
Hopefully James Harden.
Wes Bergman. I love that man so much.
Did you used to hate him or have you always loved him?
Well, Real World Austin was by far my favorite. I've always loved him. Okay. Been on Team West forever. The way he talks, his interviews, he thinks he's like 10 pegs ahead of everyone. And it's just hilarious.
He does. And here's the deal. Now that he's won a couple, because he's won 2, is that right?
Yeah, so, but not when they're this big money.
Yeah, that's true. But now that he's won, when you win a couple, you become big time. Like Darrell, who's on this season. Darrell is a rock. He's the most boring TV you could ever ask for, but all he is a winner. It's just last night he wins his challenge. He gets the interview. He's like, yeah, of course I'm good at this game. Now let's go on to the final things. I'm still scared of people. I'm thinking, no, you're not, Darrell. You're a 4-time champ. You're fine. You're good. You're amazing, but you're boring.
When at the end, because they did the double, and at the end, when the way CT did his thing versus the way Darrell did his thing, I looked at Laura and I go, I've been watching the same thing for 20 years, the same exact like it's
okay. So
Darrell's boring and CT's crazy.
And it hasn't changed. True. Let's get into a little bit of this season of the challenge, the best show on MTV. They're getting down to the very end here. We're going to be seeing probably 2 weeks out to the final. I'm guessing it's going to be something like that. A couple things.
Yeah, I think so.
A couple things I wanted to throw at you. Devin, your thoughts on Devin this season? He just got taken out last night. What'd you think about how he played?
I thought he was the star of the season. Number one player for the season. They use him for the narration a lot.
Yep.
Which I always like that. I thought he was going to make it to the final.
Me too.
Because of how much they were showing him, but I like him. I think he's like a wannabe Wes, but he's kind of meaner. He's more mean-spirited about it.
Kind of meaner?
Dude, yeah, he's definitely meaner. He's mean-spirited, but it's kind of funny sometimes, right? It's usually true, right?
Yeah, he drives me a little crazy, but in the way I need for a TV show, if that makes sense. For a show like that.
Yeah, he left. Because, like, now what are we going to watch, Fessy and Darrell?
Yeah, there's not a lot of there, but you've got CT left. Outside that, you're right that this season is you said it when you said athletes. The rest of them are just there to compete, play the game, and do your thing. Minus CT, who we got a classic CT moment last night of him going crazy, which I loved.
So you're the only person I've heard, because I read about it a little, and I watched with Laura. She was like out on CT now. Everyone hates CT because of that.
Yeah.
I kind of saw it more as like the decision. Like he maybe didn't do it right. Like he could have done it in a different way, but it was the right decision.
Gameplay wise, perfect. So what happened is CT drops his partner Big T, who's winning no physical challenges. She's just not physically challenge worthy. Compared to Killa Cam, who's going to win every female challenge because she's a beast, okay? So CT makes the right move, changes his partner so he's with a legitimate all-star partner. If he had just done it in a nice way where he was like, Big T, he was going to break her heart no matter what. I didn't like that she kept saying, it was the way you did it. Because in my head, you play it out both ways. No matter what CT does to drop Big T, she's going to be crying. She's going to go back to the house crying, say he lied to her. He couldn't have done it in a nice way. He did it in the made for TV. Get out of here. F you, F you, F you. I'm the best. I'm the king. Kill a Cam from day one. Like, he made a big scene of it, but that's for TV.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, this is a TV show.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Big T was like, she's America's favorite, I think, this year. Like, she, so nice, so nice. Like, I felt bad for her.
Too nice. That's what I mean, too nice for the show, where it's kind of that thing where I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That's the problem I think I had coming back to the challenge, where we have a lot of nice people in there, and I don't know that nice people work with the challenge.
Yeah, I honestly, the way she reacted, that might be the meanest thing that's like ever happened to her.
You're right. You're actually right, because people are not mean to her. Okay, one of the other things coming back to the challenge, Michael, for me, seeing CT 20 years later on MTV, I didn't realize he was going to be on this season. And I turned on my TV and I was like, that is freaking CT still. He's still on this show. He's a lifer on the challenge. And I didn't know if I loved it or hated it.
Okay, so I was wondering about that. What your reaction to that? Because you said something, you're like, I remember CT and Johnny Bananas 20 years ago. Well, guess who won last season?
Johnny Bananas won last year. I heard that
Yeah,
later.
Yeah. So Johnny still dominates. It's still the same people dominate.
How?
And it's like you kind of watch them like age, like, so they don't do it the same way. They're not doing it like brute force. They're smarter.
Which is wild, because CT has suddenly went from the monster. He was just the big gorilla in the cage, right? And now he is puzzle master. I thought when that happened, I was like, wait a second. The guy who for 9 seasons just tried to throw people around in the house and punch through walls is now being hailed as puzzle master? What happened there?
Puzzle master. That was so funny.
And he was. He put the puzzle together last night in no time flat. It was crazy. And he looks at the camera and goes, I do this with my son all the time back at home.
Yeah, you could, in like a few years, you'll be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, that'll be me in about 4 years. I'm going to sit here with Olivia and put together puzzles and get on Survivor and just crush those slide puzzles.
So that's another thing about CT's decision there, was that he has a 2-year-old son and he's going through a divorce right now.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like, he's got to make that decision for sure.
Yeah.
That was the only decision. Except for Casey. I think he should have taken Casey, but.
Okay, what are your thoughts on the Big Brother crew? That was the other thing I took from watching the challenge. I thought, holy cow, they brought a bunch of my other favorite shows people in with Big Brother and Survivor. That was kind of sweet.
Well, Big Brother's my favorite out of the 3, but I think they just brought the wrong people. Casey's really cool. She's really athletic. I think she's good for it, but they're all they're just not there for me with like their personalities. No. I like personality the most.
I loved it last night. Casey swore in her post interview, and you could see her eyes go, am I allowed to do this? Because of all the Big Brother training, right? You're on Big Brother for so long. You're on that TV. They try to limit that so you can, they can air it on CBS. She curses on this, and then she's like, oh, wait, I can do that, but I feel so uncomfortable, which is hard for them then, because that makes the show. That makes the MTV show better.
Well, who did Lolo Jones blow your mind when you saw her there?
Okay, so Michael, I've got on my notes the things I have written down. All right, I had Devin. I wanted to talk to you about Devin, and I thought he was awful as a human, but great for the show. I thought the fact that he left the show with one final, like the very end of his walk-off, he takes one last shot at Big Brother and Josh just on the way out. I thought it was great. He was great the whole show. And then right below that, my second talking point was going to be, I turn on my TV to catch up on the challenge, and Olympian Lolo Jones is on the cast, and I thought, they've done it. The challenge is bringing in anyone they want. They are that big of a show. She ended up being a joke.
Yeah, how awful. I knew she is a big name. She's a big name, and she's been on it before in like the champions versus all-stars type thing where they've done it. I don't know. So I've gotten a taste of her. She might be my least favorite person to ever be on the show.
I mean, whiny. She's such a great athlete, right? just amazing athlete. You could see it when she would get out in some of the challenges and they'd show her take off running or doing something. You're like, this chick is bred different. She's worked hard to get to where she's at. But then she's just an emotional meltdown every single time. It was almost like she expects to be given things. That was the vibe I got, where the whole time it was just kind of spoiled Lolo Jones, not getting spoiled because guess what? The challenge doesn't care about that. And she just had a meltdown because of it.
So here's this theory. You know how like back problems usually come from stress?
Yes.
Lolo's partner Nam yesterday had to leave because of a back problem. He was so stressed out by Lolo. He had never seen any human in the world like Lolo.
No, you're right about that. He was kind of the male Big T.
Yeah, but no, Big
Really
T was like lovable. Nam, I just think was just there.
Well, all the women loved him because he's he's just chiseled. He's an Adonis. But I don't think he ever said anything mean to anyone. He always was saying nice things. He was always comforting people. He just brings no energy.
He speaks English very well.
He speaks English terribly. That was the other problem. His English was awful. I felt bad for him sometimes, and they'd leave him making terrible blunders. They just leave it in the edit. And I thought, we're not even going to help him out with that one a little bit, producers?
Yeah, so maybe he only knows how to say nice things.
That actually could be. But she was terrible. I was so happy she was off. I will say this. Watch, coming back into the challenge. I still think CT, from who's on there now, CT is the biggest powerhouse. I think Wes would have been number 2 for my power rankings of all time. Johnny Bananas is on that list, but not on the season. Killa Cam, who's still in right now on CT's team, I think she's the best female competitor I've ever seen on this show.
Laurel.
Oh, you think Laurel's better?
Yeah, she's 6'3" and chiseled.
But you think Laurel, and I love Laurel. But I think watching Cam in some of the challenges, it's just no, not messing around. She's just going. She's ripping things out of your hand. She's hanging on to things longer. She's brutal.
This is her 4th time. She's never come close to winning.
What happened to Laurel? Why is she not on the show anymore?
She's not a very nice person. She might have got canceled too.
Here's another person I was wondering about. Is Kenny still around?
No, he definitely got canceled. Okay. He got canceled before, 10 years before canceled was a thing. Him and that Evan or something. Evan?
Yeah, I loved Devin.
They were best friends, and they did something on the challenge, when one of the girls got too drunk and they did some stuff when she was drunk.
Yeah, that'll get you canceled and should get you canceled.
Right.
Which is a bummer because I loved them and I didn't know that till now. That bums me out because I thought they were really good TV.
They were fun. So
okay, well there we go. There's some challenge drama for you. We've got so right now we've got a couple heavy hitters still left in the challenge. We've got a couple weeks left. I look at the roster and I see Leroy's still really good and has a good shot at this. I think you got to put Killa Cam in there as a good shot at this. Where do we stand on Kyle right now?
I love Kyle, but just from an entertainment standpoint.
He needs to be on camera every time they do anything. They have to show his interview. He's hilarious.
Hilarious. And then his accent adds 10% to it too.
But I will say this about Kyle. As great as he is, when they're doing his interviews, his teeth are so white and so prominent, I can't get past it. And sometimes I find myself not listening to him because I'm just what's happening there?
Really? I think that he must have gotten some crap from the first couple seasons because he changed his teeth. Because those are some new ones recently.
But can you even look past them?
No, I don't notice.
Oh, okay, sorry. You're not material like I am. You're not into that stuff. You're into the game.
So funny.
You're into the game.
But he's actually good too. He's sneaky good.
He is, and he's still in it. At this point, he's still in it. Okay, so who do you have? Who's going to win? Who's going to win? Who's the upset special?
So wait, how stupid of a decision was it yesterday for Devin when CT says pick who you want? Devin looks up there and he comes up with the decision of Darrell.
Okay, that was very stupid, and I get what he was doing. He was going very personal because Devin had already taken out Wes, so that was a big one. So I think he felt invincible, and he was very offended by Darrell. So he got real personal with that. And he should have just taken Kyle. He should have taken Kyle. Kyle was probably, maybe even, I probably should have taken Kyle and gone against him.
Kyle was definitely Kyle because Nam was rogue.
Yes.
I believe.
And so was
Nam
Corey.
Was rogue.
And so was Corey.
So it's both of those two I would take, especially if you know one of them's broken back. But you got to go with Kyle. And Fessy's too big.
Fessy's too big.
You know that uses length. That one needed length. So I wouldn't pick Fessy, but oh gosh, Darrell is like the best. He's like the last person I think I'd want to go, just secretly.
Yeah, and because he really is just the game. Like that's the guy who's there to win challenges. That's it. And that period. He's not going to be your friend probably in the house, and not because he doesn't want to be. He's just going to do his thing. He's going to every time they show a shot, he's eating breakfast, lunch, or dinner. That's the only time you see him. Not talking to anyone, and then he's winning challenges. That's all he's doing. So why do you pick him, Devin? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So
that was a bad choice by Devin. Very bad choice by Devin. I thought it was great that I was glad that CT just buried Josh in that challenge, by the way, instead of it dragging on and Josh somehow winning. I was just happy because I thought the way they had it edited, CT was going to lose, and then he just beats him in no time flat. And that was what was supposed to happen.
What are your thoughts on Josh?
I don't like him at all. I don't like he was not enjoyable. I despised him on Big Brother. He walked around hammering pots and pans the whole season, which was so annoying. And then on this show, I don't like him at all. He's really overly emotional and not the funny way.
Right. I've never liked him in any way. Same reasons you just described. But for some reason, he's a mainstay. He's there to stay.
They love him. I would love to know what he's like. Well, I'd love to know what all of these people are like if you just hung out with them for a day, what kind of personality they really have. Because everyone says Josh, all the gals who are hanging out with him are like, he's so nice. He's such a sweetheart. And so there obviously is stuff off camera we're not seeing where he is really good to talk to and a nice friend. But we're not seeing that.
The girls all like him, but then CT's like, give me the big goof.
He is a big goof.
Yeah.
But he is a big goof, right? Like when he always makes blunders. He always says something dumb. He just seems goofy. His voice is kind of like a little bit more goofy how he sounds with his rhythm and his cadence of his voice. I'm not a big fan of him, though. I do love Fessy. Fessy's the Big Brother guy who I love. So I don't
like him, not one bit. He has zero personality. He's like the frat guy or something that just like stands there and just doesn't drink or anything because he's got to get his lifting in the morning and I don't know.
Yeah,
not my guy.
I do miss that is what makes the best players great is that they're chiseled and they're also just partying on the show.
Yeah,
that's the best. Okay, who's gonna win this season, Michael?
Power rankings, the teams. If the teams were to stay as they are, I think I'd slightly take CT and Cam, and then Leroy and Casey, and then a big drop off after that.
I agree.
Oh, actually, Darrell and Amber.
Darrell's a beast. Amber is okay. I just think with the girls, there is such a difference in who's good at challenges to who's not.
But the final challenge is just endurance, almost always. And I think she might be okay with that.
Oh, which would be nice because that would make things a little more fun. How Anissa's still on the show, I don't know. Like she sneaks through episodes.
That has had me baffled how every time this first episode comes on, I turn on the challenge. I'm so excited. Who's going to be on this season? Anissa, every time, like, where is she bringing? I don't know what she brings because she's not good at the challenge.
Anissa's 39 years old. That's my age. I'm going to tell you, if I ever go on the challenge, the second they have the first option to pick someone, they pick me because at 39, your body has fallen apart. They'd beat a 39-year-old. These young kids who are in great shape would beat a 39-year-old in any single challenge. Yeah, Anissa just slides through. I don't get it.
She ends up getting in the like eliminations where she's like strong. She's bigger than all the girls.
Yeah.
So she ends up in an elimination against some tiny girl and then wins. And then there's this like fake, like, oh, Anissa's so strong, I don't want to go against her. But then how screwed would Fessy be if he gets to final and he has to be with her?
He's toast immediately. I mean, we saw it in that race where they had to carry the big log.
Yeah,
Fessy and Anissa were out just right off the bat. It was not in the cards for her to get through that one.
They got last by a mile.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be brutal for, like you said, the endurance stuff's not going to work for him. One other thing, TJ Lavin is awesome.
He's the coolest person of all time. Like yesterday when he said like whatever about, he's like, I hope you guys have a fun plane ride to Josh and Devin.
So great. I will say this, and this is my closing thought, and we'll do this again in a couple weeks. I really wish Jeff Probst could do what TJ Lavin does, because Probst has it in him every now and then where someone messes with his game and he gets pissed at him, and it's like, don't do that on my game. TJ Lavin does it in a way where it's like, you messed around with my game, and now I'm just going to kick you off the show. Like, I'm going to figure out a way to get you off the show. I don't like you. I'm going to make it known I don't like you. This is my show. I've worked too hard on this. Get out of here. And I know Probst can't necessarily do that because it's probably a little more, it's more of an MTV gruff move than a CBS move.
They're different, and they're both so great in their own way. Probst does such a great narration, and TJ's like scary. But my favorite thing is, you're right, when he leaves, when everyone leaves, he's telling you if you're going to come back. He said he'll either say, maybe we'll see you in the future, or we'll for sure see you in the future.
I just love it. I think that is the best. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point he just looks at someone and says, enjoy your last season on the challenge. Because he hates it.
Aren't you scared I think we've talked about this before, if you quit anything in life, that you're just going to turn around and TJ's going to be standing there.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Okay, well, I'm excited about it. Michael, thank you for getting me back in the challenge. I appreciate you for doing that.
I'm so glad you're back in. I've been waiting. I'm so excited you're in.
I don't know how many more episodes we have. Let me look real quick. I wanted to see that before we sign off here. We've got...
There's only one skull left, right? One skull left.
So is next week the last week?
I imagine they'll have like once where like they'll give the people that don't have a skull a chance. I don't know.
Yeah, if it's next week, we'll do a podcast right after, and we'll recap the season. How's that sound?
Okay. Well, I bet the finale will be a 2-week thing. You like the 1.5-hour thing?
I love it. Do you like it?
Oh no! This is what my one final thought. I hate it. So last night we got a half an episode. Survivor Big Brother would never do that, where we get on, and they're going to do that now the rest of the way, where we're going to either see a challenge or an elimination, one or the other now. And we have an 1.5-hour, and they can only show us one or the other, and they're going to do that the rest of the way.
That part is too much. They need to do 1.5 hours, show us both things, because then it gives you time to show the challenge, social game, final elimination.
Yeah.
The pit, which that's great for an 1.5 hours. But you're right. If they're going to do just one and then social game me for an hour, that's not as good of TV.
Especially when the social game is them lifting weights.
It's tough. All right. Hey, Michael, I appreciate it. You're the man. And you know your TV, so I love that. We'll get on here again soon. How's that sound?
I can't wait.
All right, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Anytime.